Hello, and thanks for joining us for today's tech demo with a focus on cloud backup and recovery. I'm Kevin Collins from Unitrends, and I'm here with Jordan Warsoff, one of our solutions engineers, and he'll be taking us through the demo. Don't forget, one lucky attendee will be walking away with a $500 Amazon gift card. We'll contact the winner via email after the tech demo. But before we get started, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. This session will be recorded, and after the event, you'll receive an email with a link to the on-demand version of the demo. I would also encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation. You can do so by typing them into the Q&A box in the bottom right of the player. We'll answer your questions at the end of the session. At this point, I'll turn it over to Jordan. Enjoy the presentation, and Jordan, take it away.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone, wherever you may be. Kind of want to take today to talk a bit about focusing on cloud backup and recovery, utilizing the cloud to get your data out there, and what you can do with the data that's in the cloud. To kind of get to that, I want to talk about why we're even here, why we're even looking at backup, why we're even looking at the cloud to maintain recovery. And it really comes to what we kind of jokingly call the less is more world. Nowadays, we have in IT far more responsibility. We're a vital part of the operations department. We are important for ensuring that companies, departments can function. There's a lot more projects, a lot more riding on what IT can do. But in doing so, we've not gotten that relative bump in workload, in workforce, in money, in investment, in frankly that the kind of expectation and respect that you need to be able to manage all the pieces. And frankly, there's a lot more risk facing us now. As we become more and more of a recognized pillar of our different departments and communities as well as administrations, we're then much more targeted for ransomware, for growth, for all sorts of issues, and frankly, downtime is a huge concern for companies now, because if email goes out for a couple hours, you have people sitting around that literally can't function. So being able to kind of ensure that your business is continuing to function no matter what services or applications are missing is key for ensuring your company or your department's success. And that's kind of where Unitrends is trying to approach. Rather than having the downtime, which costs so much money, Delta Airlines was down for just over an hour, I believe, and it costs so much. It costs over $150 million. The average cost of a data center outage, and that's just an outage, independent of length, is $730,000. So we need to find some kind of solution that enables you as the IT team to be able to find a solution that provides no finger pointing, that provides less management. So you're able to actually manage, see what's going on. You provide you the flexibility with recovery, with protection, with all sorts of things, more uptime, and so you can avoid these kind of data center outage problems, more confidence in your recovery, have that guarantee, that confidence that you know you will be able to recover should anything go awry, and frankly, more free time. So often are we working nights, weekends without much as, barely more than a thank you from outside the organization, let alone the fact that so many things are costly simply due to the inefficiencies that come with all of these solutions. So Unitrends is trying to break the mold. What we've got is we're trying to provide a solution that can take you from that old world of more vendors, more finger pointing and all of that, to the new world, where you can basically go from having tons of old vendors with tons of finger pointing, with a lot of work setting it up, a little continuity, susceptible to malware, and a fragmented lower customer satisfaction, to this new world where it's one unified vendor that has less work. You can simply rack connect it and get on your way. You can provide that local and cloud continuity with the recovery assurance, and it's a secure purpose-built Linux system with a unified and higher customer satisfaction. So you kind of get this full experience. You can see what this new world's trying to do. We're trying to enable you to go basically up to the cloud, down from the cloud, enable you to recover as you see fit and do what's really best for your for your whole environment. And that's kind of the whole point, is how do we make this easier? How do we meet everyone's needs? And everyone's needs are different. So by attempting to do our best to simplify the requirements, and not even simplify the requirements, simplify the solution, means that you can meet more of the requirements you have to protect your data. For example, in the old world, you'd have all these different levels that you'd need to address and provide. The cloud, you need the local storage, the hypervisor, the backup software, the cloud infrastructure for getting it off-site, the cloud backup and DR strategy, the cloud storage, whether that was a secondary location or an actual cloud site like Google or Rackspace or Azure or AWS, and then you need to test it in that site. So a lot of going through, whereas the Unitrends, that diagram on the is that you can pop in one box, and then go on with your day. It really is that simple, and I think that is a huge differentiator from what else is from like everything else out there, is trying to provide that simplicity. And the most important part of our simplicity is it means that we're even better at supporting it. Not only do we have one of the industry's best support success rates, but we also provide it with this simple solution. So you really get all in one. We're only a single call, so everything from a broken hard drive to I don't know how to do my backup to I need to declare a cloud disaster is all called through the same number that's prioritized and super easy to be able to call and get through, and to get picked up within a couple rings. 24/7 by 365, staffed only by Unitrends employees. So you never have to worry about it's a call center or people who aren't actually familiar with Unitrends or this, that. They're all there. They're all fully trained, and escalations are incredibly simple. So now, as we mentioned, getting to the cloud is kind of the most important piece. The Unitrends Cloud tries to solve a ton of these old world problems where you'd have multiple vendors. It was a separate company. They had no way to do DR as a service. It was only, DR, but you'd have to actually control it and manipulate it yourself. There was no recovery assurance, no way to test your recovery, limited retention, no SLAs, network bottlenecks. Whereas in the new world, you've got a single vendor to manage all of it. You got physical and virtual automatic DR as a service, the industry-only recovery assurance, where we can test at the application level that we're able to recover and how long that will take with a 1-hour SLA. And here's my favorite part, we take the worst parts of the cloud and we solve them through SneakerNet. Azure and AWS don't allow you to send your data to them, or at very least, they don't allow you to ship your data back easily. With Unitrends, it's an integral part of our solution. If you actually have a disaster locally and you're utilizing our Unitrends Cloud, we will ship you an appliance with all of your data on it at no additional cost. So you'll get your data back shipped to you rather than having to wait for egress fees or a download over the internet or all sorts of things that could really add to and reduce what you want to be able to accomplish. We also have infinite retention available where we'll keep your data forever in our cloud rather than having to ship tapes off to Iron Mountain or Bank Vault. So we try to solve a lot of problems, and Unitrends is able to do that. We've got local backup, long-term compliance, off-site compliance, we're going to talk about today, private cloud DR and automation, cloud DR and automation, cloud migration, backing up cloud workloads. We even have Office 365 protection and ransomware detection. So this is kind of our guide. We call it the guide to the new world. It begins with the Recovery Series Physical Appliances, our flagship product. It's an all-in-one physical appliance that provides the software, the storage, and the servers to be able to back up and ensure your environment can recover. You can then utilize this to get to the Unitrends Cloud, which we'll talk about in a second, or to some other cloud like AWS, Azure, a secondary location. You can easily do that just by deploying 2 different appliances. And if a physical appliance isn't for you, or you're going to need to utilize, all virtual environment, not a problem. Unitrends actually has a virtual appliance. It's our UB software, and that can be deployed on VMware, Hyper-V, Zen Server, AWS, or Azure. So you can actually deploy Unitrends in Azure, protect your instances that are running there, and then recover those files back at your local site. Recover those files to your cloud location. There's all sorts of options that you have to be able to ensure your recoverability and what you need to be able to accomplish. Not to mention, on top of that, we also have Office 365 backup, where we can back up and protect your Office 365 OneDrive, SharePoint, and emails. It's an easy-to-use tool that automatically runs multiple backups, and you can browse and recover individual emails, individual items, whatever you may need. And then lastly, we won't get into too much detail about this, but if you're interested in this kind of cloud, Boomerang, Boomerang is an incredibly low-cost DR solution where we can take your local VMware VMs, this is VMware only today, and we can send them up to AWS or Azure, replicating on a schedule you define. Once they're up there, it's only requiring a storage instance. There's no resources required for the storage of these replicas. The only time you'll actually pay for like CPU or actually have to spin up an instance in Azure AWS is when you actually do the failover. So this is really important. What a great way to save money and utilize a scale rather than having to pay for the full infrastructure. It's really utilizing what those clouds actually have rather than relying on your own efforts. So with that, I thought it probably make the most sense to kind of show off some of our backup and recovery, business continuity, and disaster recovery capabilities. It kind of all begins with deploying the Unitrends Recovery Series physical appliance or the virtual appliance at each location you want to back something up. So like putting a Wi-Fi router in each remote, in each office or something like that. So we deploy each of these appliances in each of those locations. And the nice thing is they all come with a single pane of management and a lot of easy use when trying to back up and recover. In fact, I'll show you real quick what the dashboard looks like. So installing is really simple. Installation takes maybe minutes. You simply plug it in, deploy it, and give it an IP address, and then you access it from said IP address right here. So let's get rid of you. So basically here I can see this is the address, and it's available just as a web browser, no installation or other things needed. This is the dashboard screen, and in fact, if I have multiple appliances, all of them will be visible and all their information will be available right here. I can see the storage they're using, the backup summary, how much is being protected, any errors that occurred. I can easily click and go right to the errors, and here I can see it looks like my file server was having issues running backups, although the backup no longer exists, but it could not contact the client. But see how this is? I can actually go in, I can easily delete and get all this information this quickly. And I can actually add and remove certain of these tiles as needed. For example, we're definitely going to be talking about my recovery assurance, which here, even though we haven't even talked about the backups yet, this actually tile tells me how the success. It basically tested my backups automatically for me, and this tells me whether they met compliance. If they succeeded, they failed, and I can find out what went wrong and find out how to fix some of those pieces. So logging in, beautiful HTML5 interface that runs really quickly and on pretty much any device. If I want to kind of check out what I'm backing up and all that stuff, I can do so by simplifying the backups. There's a lot of stuff Unitrends can protect. We have over 200 different operating systems, applications, and hypervisors we can protect, ranging from physical servers to virtual machines, NAS devices, applications. All of these are backed up locally and deduplicated in line, landing on the appliance. Once the backup is complete, you can recover individual files, you can recover whole physical machines, you can recover snapshots, individual emails, individual databases. The list goes on and on of all the things you can recover, and it's all done by simply coming into the interface and doing so. I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up the backups and set up the recoveries. So to begin, I'm going to come here. I have a few options. When I first set up the machine, I was under the Configure tab, and I'm going to add any machines that are local that I want to protect. So for example, if I have a physical server, simply fill out the host name, the IP, any credential information, hit save, and I'm good to go. Once I have it added, I'm going to create a job. A job is how the machines are usually protected. There's two main types. The first one is a policy-based type, where I come over here and I create a SLA, so a service level agreement to myself that I want to back up. I can check off which ones I want to do. So let's take these physical servers, and I can edit and add inclusions or exclusions. So if I only want certain files or certain folders to be backed up, I can come right here and I'll be able to do so. Whoops, kicks me out. The perils of a live demo. I basically come right here, I can grab the pieces I want, and from there, I set up my SLA. I can say that I want a recovery point of 12 hours, 24 hours, 8 hours. I can say that I want to keep backups for a certain period of time, only backup during a specific window. All these options right here, hit save, and that's it. It's that easy to be able to create, and all those jobs will be managed by my service level agreement policy. If I want some more granularity of control over it, I come here and create a backup job. From here, similar idea, let's do it with VMware this time. I can select some resource pools, some snapshots, whatever I need, even this template. And then I can come and I can choose which virtual disks I want to include. So let's find one that has multiple. This SQL one I'm pretty sure does. Yep. So I can choose just to back up and snapshot specific virtual disks. And I can come here and I create a schedule. We can do incremental forever by default, where we only back up the changes with every backup, or I can build a customized schedule where I can click and drag when I want to run the different backups. I have a ton of options to be able to do so and really provide that high level of control and customization that I may need. Once you hit save, that job is created down here, and it's going to be running those backups, and I can see when the next backup is going to be performed, and if there were any errors, I can see it under the Protect tab. Right here I can view the successes, the warnings, the failures, and I can actually click View the details of the failure and find out why. There's the one we were looking at before, where it couldn't contact the client after those attempts. So we've seen how easy it is to create these backups. We've seen how easy it is to create the jobs. Let's talk about actually recovering the pieces. I come over here to the Recover tab, which gives me a filter on the right where I can look for specific items to recover. Let's say I got this. This is a snapshot of my file server. I can come right here and I can either recover the whole VM, or I can select which host, which resource pool, which data store, and then from there I can recover it, or I can choose to recover an individual file from within my backup. Let me see if I actually have one available. Just a second. So I can actually recover one of the files from within the snapshot without actually having to recover it myself. So here, let's see if this one has. Here we go. So I can actually browse the virtual disks for files and click and drag which ones I want to recover. Once I'm done, I can download them here to the local machine, and I've got the files and data and information I want to be able to recover. It's really easy to be able to do that, and that's kind of the point. We want to provide as much simplicity as possible when it comes to being able to recover. We want it to be easy to be able to recover a whole machine. We want it easy to be able to recover an individual file, and even for databases. Here's a SQL server we're running backups on. I can select one of these transaction logs, and I can actually roll back that SQL instance to a specific point in time. So here I can say this database recover to, let's say, right before 2 p.m. There we go. And then from here, I simply select and understand that I'm going to be recovering and overwriting. Hit save, and I'm going to recover that SQL database back to this, rolling up the transaction logs, because I'm able to do that with our backups. I think it's a really cool way to kind of get that high-level information while still truncating the logs, making it easy. And you saw how many clicks it took to actually do the recovery. We make it as easy as possible to be able to do so. And with we also, if we need some kind of quick recovery, like in case of a disaster, we provide what's called our different instant recovery options. You can see this little electric bolt over here. Let's say we have a Hyper-V server we want to bring back quickly. I can actually come here to instant recovery. Whoop. and I want to recover that virtual machine quickly, utilizing Hyper-V's live migration, what I can do is I can find the host I want to recover it to, the volume I want it to go to, and in the network, I can recover it live or in audit mode. But basically what this is going to do is it's going to utilize, oh, I forgot the network. This is going to utilize the backup snapshot that is currently on the appliance, whether physical or virtual, transition it to the target live. So it's going to boot it up first using the backup storage and then migrate it over to the production storage that you want to utilize, all while it's still running. So it's a great way to get back up and online quickly in a DR scenario at a second site, to get up quickly in case there was a production machine that was accidentally deleted or went down. You'll have that flexibility, and that's available in all versions of our product. On top of that, we also can do instant recovery for Windows servers, where we can take a physical Windows server, like this SQL server, and instead of waiting to have to get a new physical Windows server, install Windows, install SQL, update it, then recover the files in the SQL databases, we can actually create a standby virtual clone that's updated with every single backup and have it hosted on a local VMware host, a local Hyper-V host, or even if you have a physical Unitrends appliance, we can do that too, just using the resources that are local, that are on that box itself. So you can see a lot of capabilities and a lot of information to be able to back up and recover. And that was kind of the point. I wanted to show you how much we can actually protect, how much we can actually recover, and the granularity yet simplicity you have. Remember, the whole goal is to make it, what good is a backup solution if it's too complicated or too cumbersome to set up, maintain, and use? With Unitrends, we try to eliminate that problem by making it both easy to use and powerful. By giving you both options, both legs, you really get to go further, I think, than without it. So that's good, though. We've seen all the stuff we can back up. We've seen a lot that we can recover. There's even more out there. We have a huge compatibility matrix if you're curious about what operating systems we support. But that's not enough. I need to be able to get my stuff off-site, and that's where Unitrends can still help you out. We have local backup copy options where we can copy backups to some kind of NAS target, a SAN, maybe to tape. If you want to put it to disk, we have a rotational hard drive that you could utilize to recover, to copy backups to, or we can even push stuff to certain clouds. With small supplies in Google Cloud, Rackspace, and Amazon, we don't even need a Unitrends instance at the other site to be able to send the data to it. And this is a great way to kind of do, an economical way of getting your data off-site. And now if you would prefer, though, and get that kind of automated using the internet or the cloud, you can do so through our different backup copy to hot target options or those replication options. Basically what this means is you can use Unitrends to push data either to a second Unitrends appliance at another site where you manage it yourself. This could be a physical location. This could be Azure. This could be AWS. Replicate the data to it, and all the recoveries we talked about, including the instant recovery, including the file recovery, are all available at that second site. And that's great for all the recovery needs you may have, to be able to get it over there, be able to recover it quickly and do whatever you need. Alternatively, instead of going over the WAN to a second site you have to own, manage, and maintain, you could do it to the Unitrends Cloud. Unitrends Cloud has multiple locations worldwide, but will keep your data within the borders of the country you're replicating to. So our data does not cross borders. The data is not only kept there and replicated and maintained by us, but we actually keep a long-term retention option in our cloud, where instead of like on our local appliance, we're going to keep the newest stuff, the most recent things on there, and get rid of stuff as we need to make space. In our cloud, we provide what's called basically no limits retention. You can basically set how long you want to keep it, and we can do up to infinite retention, where we're going to keep every single yearly, monthlies for a year, weeklies for a month, and dailies for a week all available to recover from, all from your local interface. So for example, if I'm here and I want to recover a file that's been replicated, so we've been replicating data to a secondary target, I can actually filter through, find the stuff I'm replicating. So here, remember that file server that was messing up? I can actually pull down and download right here, and this can be done both with the Unitrends Cloud or with a secondary replication target. I can import the backup. I can even recover an individual file on something that's on a remote target. So here, for example, this Oracle server is actually remote. I can browse the files on it and download them all within this interface. I don't have to actually download it locally. I don't have to wait to get the whole backup. I can just take the, the one or two pieces that I actually want, like my, I don't know, some error file or anything like that. I can download that and I can get that up and running really quickly and be able to, use that to get it. So you see already it's available before I was even done talking about it. So that's one example of that. And setting up the stuff to replicate off is super easy. One in that policy method, it's simply the next setting. If I come over to here, I can say I want to backup copies to the hot copy target or a cold backup copy target, some kind of like RxCA thing, and it'll do that every day. Alternatively, if I want to set up a more customized schedule, I can set up a backup copy job where I select which assets I want to send, so maybe some of these servers again. And from here, I can set up a schedule of how often I want it to send. So I can say which backups I want it to send, whether I want to encrypt them, how long I want to keep them, how often I want to send them over. And then I can choose how many of them to send over, hit save, and that job is done. It's going to automatically send that data over. Or if I'm going to replicate it, I can actually have no control over the schedule, because what happens is the data is automatically replicated with every single backup. So as soon as the backup completes, it's going to attempt to begin replication. That being said, if you just don't want to necessarily be replicating, you can easily come to the Configure tab, and I can set up how much bandwidth to utilize at any given moment. So we have a 100 megabit connection. I'll say 50% during these times, and I can say, you know what, I actually also in the evenings need more bandwidth. So maybe Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 9, make sure to throttle it down to 30%. The rest of the time I can go full throttle. Obviously this may not be realistic, but you can very easily control, and Unitrends won't go above those kind of throttles that you have set. So hopefully that kind of makes sense for those pieces, and hopefully I made it clear enough. So a lot that we can kind of provide. You see, we can do all these backups, we can get those backups off-site, and we can get them either to a secondary location through the internet or to a Unitrends Cloud, and then you have all those recoveries available. The thing is, though, how good are backups if you can't recover them? And that's where our recovery assurance comes into play. With the Unitrends Cloud or with your local Enterprise Plus, you can actually set up these data copy access jobs. What these data copy access jobs will do is they'll either enable you to set up your own lab locally that you can mess with manually and kind of configure these individual pieces or check out patch testing or something like that, or you can use data copy access to automate the recovery testing. Data copy access basically means we're going to take backups you've already had and do something with them and then bring them back to the original state. We're not going to actually alter them or save them. It's just a matter of utilizing. One option is to do that manually through the kind of the manual testing I mentioned earlier, or you can do kind of automatic testing. So here I'm going to pick some VMs, pick a few that look good to me, SQL Server, File Server. And then from here, I can either set up what kind of profile, where I want them to be able to recover, where I want them to recover to. So here I have a 24-hour and a 4-hour. I can see which hosts I want them to go to, any scripts or other suffix I want to use when they're recovering. And then here I can do it on demand, and that way I can just spin it up immediately, or I can set up to once a week schedule, or I can even do this, more frequently. I can do every other day or something of those sorts, or even multiple times a day. And then from here, I can then set up any tests that I may want to do as a part of the recovery. So my SQL Server, for example, yeah, I got this. I do want it to power on, give it more or less CPU or memory, which resource I want to use. but I can also set up the IP address, and I can set up the test. So here's a SQL server. I can come in here and I can run a SQL instance, so I can check to make sure there's a specific service within SQL here. I can give it a name and check it out there. I can run a SQL query, giving the IP server name, database name, and the query and the output I expect. And this can be done with multiple servers. So if I want to make sure that my SQL server can communicate with my AD server, I can come in here and make sure that my AD server can ping to the other host. So I can do, ping host, and I can make sure it runs to the other SQL servers. This way I know they can communicate with each other, and I can add that in, so it'll test to make sure it can do that. I can also test for different services, such as I can make sure that Active Directory is running, or domain services, something like that. So I have a lot of flexibility and options as testing, and the nice thing is this can be done both locally and in the Unitrends Cloud too. So the Unitrends Cloud can build that in. We'll give you that nice report, and this is the same report that we saw on the dashboard. It's available right here. It tells me my compliance, how many succeed, how many failed. I can see, what happens with the failures. I can bring up these jobs, and I can actually run and see where's the failed one here. Hopefully we can see where it failed. It looked like VMware tools are installed, so it wasn't even able to boot one of the machines that was required for it. You can see I can go through this step-by-step process to find out when or why an issue occurred. So a lot to kind of take in, but there's a lot that we can really do with that. We saw the high level of protection, high level of recovery, and high level of assurance that Unitrends can provide. And we can do it all super easily. Our cloud provides an easy tiering structure where you can basically pick how much you want to send to us, and it's all about the protected capacity. So you don't have to pay for storage in the cloud or resource in the cloud, simply an all-in-one. You can choose what retention you want, where you can do 90 days up to 7 years or forever. Choose if you want DRAS per instance, and then you can get even premium DRAS if you want, where we provide a 1-hour SLA. You don't have to take my word for it, though. I mean, we have a ton of happy customers that have been using Unitrends, Unitrends Cloud, and all sorts of options. One example is Scott, who is saying that he wants to see no backup failures and know that his recoveries are good. Utilizing recovery assurance or just standard recoveries, people like Scott are going to be able to go in and be like, I even know these backups haven't been tested by me manually yet. I know they're good because they have been tested. I've set up the test, and I can see if there are any errors or deviations. I can tell right here, and I know exactly how long it's going to take to recover. And that's kind of important to be able to provide that level of integration, frankly. And that's really mostly what I had. The whole point of Unitrends is to make it easier to be able to do whatever you need to meet your business continuity needs, whether that maintains DR or just getting data off-site. The cloud is a great way to be able to meet those kind of demands. And Unitrends can provide a single vendor that's less work, that provides that local and cloud continuity with the recovery assurance piece, so you know it can recover. It's a secure system that uses Linux to do so, and is a unified and higher customer satisfaction rate. So all these 5 tenets combined really give Unitrends, I think, a leg up in being able to meet all of your cloud and disaster needs. Being able to back up instances in AWS or Azure, being able to recover whatever might come up, recover files, recover whole servers in VMware, Hyper-V, are going to give you that kind of peace of mind when it comes to making sure your environment is protected, backed up, and ready to go. So with that, I want to thank you so much for your time and interest in Unitrends. I really appreciate you listening to me ramble on. As Kevin said at the beginning, we do encourage questions. So I think if we would like, I can turn it back over to Kevin to help take on some questions. Thank you so much for paying attention during the presentation. And Kevin, go ahead and take it away with the questions.
Thanks, Jordan. We've got a few questions that have come in, so we'll get started on those. There's still time to ask a question. You can do so by typing it into the bottom right of the player. All right, so let's just get started here. There's been a couple of questions around what Unitrends supports. So does Unitrends support G Suite Backup and Google Cloud?
Gotcha. That's a great question. So in terms of backing up the Google Suite and the Google Cloud, we don't have that integration yet. We are looking into ways, and it is certainly on our roadmap, and you will definitely hear an announcement from us when that does happen. But it's something we are looking to do, trying to figure out the best way to do it, and is in the future. As of right now, though, we are not able to do that and purely do a cloud backup. We do have options where if you have like a customer with local Google Drive, our agent that's installed on that physical workstation or server would be able to back up the files that are pulled locally, but it is not a native integration into the Google Suite yet. Great question.
Okay, the next question is, does the virtual appliance work on Nutanix AHV?
Yes, we actually just announced our Nutanix partnership. We will be coming out with a native Acropolis backups, I believe in Q4. As of right now, though, we have agent-based backup where we can go in and back up the individual servers, or with Nutanix Hyper-V, we can take the snapshots on there. So yes, that's absolutely possible and doable, both with our physical appliance and our virtual appliance.
Okay. Next question is, how long does it take for you to back up my data to an appliance and ship it to me during an outage?
So that entirely depends on how much data. Once the data is seeded on that appliance, we actually ship that appliance overnight. So depending on what your needs are, will depend on how long it takes us to be able to recover it. So there's a lot that you can back up. There's a lot you need to send. It'll take longer. If it's not as much, then it'll be shorter.
All right. Is encryption built in, or can you define it?
Yeah, you can choose optionally to encrypt anything at rest using AES 256 encryption. In terms of in-flight, all of our replication is a secure SSL transit. We're using OpenVPN to be able to replicate the data across to build a secure tunnel. So hopefully it shouldn't be an issue when trying to send the data to the other locations. So yes, we got encryption options that you can utilize.
Okay. How long do you keep the recoverable files after they were deleted?
It depends on how much room you have on your appliance and what your settings are. In the Unitrends Cloud, we will keep that granular retention that we set earlier, where we've got that, those fulls for X period of time, we'll keep all those backups for, dailies for a week, weeklies for a month, monthlies for a year, and yearlies for as long as your term period set. You can set your different periods. In terms of local appliance, it's a first in, first out method, except you can easily define certain things as a legal hold. You can set goals to maintain and keep this for this long or this for that long. But if you need longer retention, that's where a backup copy to like a hard drive or tape would come in handy, and you can use that to be able to recover what you need.
Okay. Does this use continuous data protection, or is this on a schedule?
It depends on which one. The SLA, you can provide an RPO, because nothing's ever completely continuous unless you're doing full high availability, where writes have to be sent to both. But in terms of what we could do, I've seen schedules as quickly as, I think we can schedule down to the minute if you even wanted to be able to accomplish those real vital backups.
All right. Can I use different levels of retention based upon a document type?
The retention is based on the backup itself, so it would be per server, not document type within the server itself. That, if you wanted to, you could actually set up a job. I take that back, actually. You could set up a job and have it specifically look for inclusions. So remember, we can go to the backup job, and if I want to just back up, let's find this server. If I just want to back up, I can actually do it based on a pattern. And I can find a specific pattern to back up and only back up those files. Then I can set the retention for that. So it is possible to do that if you'd like.
Okay, next question is, just checking, you said VMware only. Does that mean that this doesn't work with Hyper-V clients?
Boomerang doesn't work with Hyper-V clients. The Unitrends backup solution does. So you can still back up and use this with Hyper-V. It's just a matter of that Boomerang piece that would allow DR in Azure and AWS isn't. If you're looking for Hyper-V DR, you can use the Unitrends Cloud no problem. It's a different, the Boomerang is like a different product that Unitrends puts out. This was mostly on the Unitrends Recovery Series and UB appliances.
Okay, here's a question on kind of the security of Unitrends. How secure is the Unitrends platform?
Very secure. We kind of talked about the encryption piece, but I mean our cloud is SSAE 16 certified. We have all the encryption options, the replication. It's a Linux-built, hardened built platform, so you don't really have any of the exposure that you do get with a lot of the different Windows devices out there, such as the SMB, vulnerabilities, among many other things.
Okay, next question is, does Unitrends offer consulting services for figuring out what needs backing up and retention period in RPOs?
We have a ton of great partners that we can definitely provide that kind of consultative approach to really go into detail and find out what you do and don't want to back up and meet the SLAs that are best suited for your business.
Okay. Can you recover files, servers, etc. to alternate locations?
Yeah.
Non-source for the uploads?
Absolutely. So yeah, if I want to recover, let's go to this, like showing instead of just saying yes. We come here to recover one of these backups. I can recover the files, and I can simply set up, let's say the whole C drive. I want to recover the whole C drive. I can come here and I can say recover to a different asset. So I want to recover to this Oracle server and give it the different directory I want to use or something like that. And in the patterns here, hit save and it'll actually send it to recover it to a different location. Don't have to just recover back to the same site. And this is true with any of the files that you want to recover.
Okay. Next question is, will I have total control of my data, or are you able to provide my data unencrypted to a law enforcement or government agency without my knowledge or permission?
That's a really good question, and we kind of need to talk about what those can and can't do. So you asked kind of about like investigations. All the data is secure in our cloud, but I'll have to defer to that. Let's follow up. When we follow up with you, reach out to our Unitrends team, and we'll get a directed answer, kind of what you're specifically looking for, and answer that in more detail.
All right, next question is, what is the maximum storage for the on-site appliance? What if more is needed? Is that an additional appliance?
Yeah, so usually additional appliances, you can easily stack appliances. Our largest single appliance is 182 terabytes raw, I believe. And you could stack multiple of them together to be able to back up more data, and all of it will be managed in a single pane of glass. So it'll feel like one appliance instead of like having to, go and switch between screens and everything. All that information will be centralized. But yeah, the largest ones are 180 terabyte. Or if you want to go, you could build your own virtual appliance and build it with your own storage and attach more to it within VMware or Hyper-V. Those are totally options as well.
All right, here's an easy question. How many years has Unitrends been in business?
We started in 1989, so we've been around roughly 28 years. That was a easier one.
All right. Which piece was it that you mentioned that only supported VMs currently, but was going to eventually support physical hardware servers?
I'm not sure. In terms of the only thing that VMware is only supported by VMs, our instant recovery is both virtual and physical. Boomerang only supports VMware, and that will eventually, hopefully, support Hyper-V and potentially physical servers. Unfortunately, I'm not certain offhand what thing it was. Sorry, yeah, I'm not sure, Kevin.
All right. We'll move on to the next one then.
Yeah, thanks.
Do we support all vertical markets, and what are some of our larger clients?
Yeah, we support all sorts of different verticals. We particularly have a lot of banks, so like finance, healthcare, education, a lot of state and local, and we got a good amount of manufacturing. It's really a wide plethora of verticals that we have. And we actually have solutions for each vertical too. So we have things that can specifically look at, and our website even divides some of that out if you're curious about how we can kind of address your specific vertical. In terms of large customers, I'm not at liberty to give names, but we have different we have like large supermarket chains. We have large healthcare research organizations. We've got military contract organizations. We've got all sorts of different companies that trust Unitrends to be able to protect their data and information and ensure they can recover should anything come up.
Okay. Next question is, what is the granularity for Exchange backups?
We can recover individual mail items. We utilize a third-party tool called Kroll, but it integrates and is supported directly from Unitrends. So you can call in and get full able support, but it's really easy to be able to recover individual mail items from the Exchange backups.
All right. Do you provide services worldwide?
Yeah, we've got customers all over the world. We have cloud locations too all over the world. So you can go to a cloud in Australia, Germany, UK, the US, Canada. But we've got customers all over Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and the North and South America.
Next question is, do you encrypt data at rest or in transit?
We answered this earlier. All data is encrypted at transit, and then data at rest can optionally be encrypted using AES 256.
Okay. As far as retention of data, how many years can we have retention for compliance purposes?
All depends on what you want. Infinite is our best offering we've got right now. In our cloud, if you want your own for local, you can easily archive off the hard drives and maintain that kind of retention yourself too. It's totally up to what your needs as an institution are.
Okay. Next question is, on a local device, what antivirus and anti-malware utilities are installed? Any issues with known products?
We have yet to have a single installation, a single instance of Unitrends being infected by ransomware. In terms of the antivirus, it's a Linux machine, so it actually has its own built-in secure things. We've just basically closed everything down. So there's no way to kind of access it and use it except as a appliance. I don't have the details on the exact security ones in front of me. But you can easily call and we can get that information to you if that's something that you'd like to see.
Okay, next question. Can you target systems by host name or does it have to be by IP address?
You can do host name. Host name is available as an option too. I just tend to use IP because it's a lab environment and things change around, so leaving it as IP tends to be a little bit easier. But yeah, you can totally do whatever. You can do host name or IP, whatever works best for you.
All right. What is the average speed of import to source from a cold copy? We have 2 terabytes VM, and it is the procedure of recovery will combine time of import plus time of recovery, correct?
Time of import, it'll be the backup plus the import, so to speak. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so it really depends so much on the data set, the data type, and what method of backup copy you're doing, so I can't speak to that one too easily. But if you want, when we follow up and talk about specifically your environment, that's something we can go over and kind of get some estimates and some kind of discussions of what will make it quicker, what will make it slower, and what kind of expectations you should have around it.
Okay, the next question is there a recommended bandwidth for 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, or 5 terabytes of data?
If you're not sending any data off-site, nope. If you are, we tend to like to see roughly 2 megabits per terabyte of data you have. Not necessarily sending off-site, but that is a very back-of-the-envelope number. There's a lot more that goes into it, including making sure that we can even get the stream of data off-site. But we have, full deduplication that's doing, hashing and only sending the unique blocks to the secondary target. So we try to be as efficient as possible and really squeeze every inch that we can out of your bandwidth.
All right. Next question is, does Unitrends work with FDA regulations?
Yeah, I believe so. It depends on which regulations you're specifically referring to, but we can totally address a lot of the FDA regulations in terms of like long-term compliance and stuff like that.
All right. Can this solution not only back up servers, physical and virtual, but can it also be applied to specific PCs on the network?
Yeah, absolutely. We have workstation agents that can install on Windows and Mac, and you can back those up just like you would any server and recover the files to those locations and anything you may need. A little different than some of your other solutions out there, but totally able to meet those workstation needs that you may have.
All right. Next question, does Unitrends support DB2 or SAP HANA database backups?
We can, yes, the way we would support those is you dump the DB2 or SAP HANA is much better supported in a virtual instance where we can take snapshots. That's actually the SAP HANA, method for protecting it. If it's a physical server, what you need to do is you need to do the native backup file dumps, and then Unitrends can come in with a file level backup and recover those.
All right. Next question is, how long has Unitrends been using the cloud, and how long has the Unitrends Cloud been around?
Gosh, the cloud has been around, I believe, early 2010s. I can't remember I don't know the exact year, but at least since 2012. So we've been around for a while. We've obviously iterated and improved it. But I think 2012 or 2013. I don't recall exactly which was the actual start of it.
Okay, next question is, do you have WAN optimization built in, which can support the data replication point-to-point?
Yes. That is it's going to be point-to-point in terms of Unitrends point-to-point. So it needs to be a Unitrends appliance going to a Unitrends appliance. We don't have built-in support for WAN optimization for non-Unitrends devices. So there's no WAN-based backups. You would need a Unitrends appliance at each of those sites, but Unitrends can provide all the, we can easily deploy as a software instance, as a physical appliance. You can use that for your recoveries.
Okay, next question is, do you support disk to table, and do you have deduplication?
We do support disk to tape. Yeah, we have tape support, disk to disk, and sorry, what was the second half of that question?
Do we have deduplication?
Yes, we do. We have inline deduplication by default, built up post-process deduplication for faster backup performance.
Okay, next one is, does it support recovery to different hardware? Can I recover VM to physical hardware? Is there a client software that gets installed or on target server?
Yeah, what you do is you deploy an agent on the VM, you'd back it up, and then we would deploy a boot OS. This is for Windows specifically. You deploy a boot OS, we would point it to that image, and we would do an integrated bare metal recovery, and then recover the files over. So you wouldn't be able to do it necessarily with a snapshot backup, but you would have to do an agent-based backup to grab that stuff. Alternatively, with a snapshot backup, you can recover the files to a newly created server and use those to repair and migrate that server.
Okay, we're just about out of time, so we'll do one more question. Can you manage the backup for physical and virtual and cloud from a single portal?
Yep. All of that, everything you saw was all within this single pane of glass. You can recover individual files, you can manage all your backups, you can manage all the tape and other things you want to do, all from this single pane of glass. And I think that's really what kind of separates us, is that we really try to make it a cohesive solution that's easy to be able to use and understand. And I think this is a great way to kind of approach and manage that by ensuring that we provide as much as we can in this interface so that you as an end user can really go kind of to the next level and use your time far more efficiently instead of having to worry about and managing a single solution.
All right. Well, thanks, Jordan, and thanks, everybody, for joining. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded, and you'll receive an email with a link to the on-demand version within the next 24 hours. We'll also contact the $500 gift card winner via email later on this afternoon. Thanks again for joining, and we look forward to having you on future webinars and tech demos. Take care, everybody.